Welcome into WNBA Today here on SportsGrid TV. It's Friday, which means we got to catch you up on all things WNBA. Last time you joined us here on SportsGrid TV for WNBA Today, we were chatting about the playoffs being molded and then getting concreted in, the action popping off, coming on the Sunday right after the Friday show, and we got a chance to talk to Coach. We got a chance to pick a lot of brains on how this was going to play out. Let's just say that a lot of the hype and excitement and buildup around the Fever didn't last that long. That was a mountain that crumbled down once they were unable to live up to the expectation and march away with points, let alone move into the next round. So let's take a look at the playoff picture. After we discussed all of the excitement in the prior weeks, we have to see what's rolling now. I have to start off by saying this. It was not anything less than sweeping fashion to get the job done for a number of the top teams in the league. But in order to go through the playoff slate, in order to see what the new concrete molding is, we got to bring in one of my favorites. We got to bring in Dexter Henry to talk with us about the Sunday slate coming up, what we've seen in playoffs thus far. He's been on the ground checking out the Liberty, talking to everybody. Dex, how's it going? It's so good to be able to talk WNBA with you. Usually it's just a hockey talk, but now we're switching things up a little bit. So how's it going?
Yeah. No, it's going good. Going good, Casey. Good to see you. Always good to talk some hoops. And we usually talk hockey, but doing something a little different. Should be good.
You know what? It's good because now I'm in the driver's seat when usually you're in the driver's seat, but we need your expertise. So we've got playoffs underway. Final Four coming up this Sunday. Last week when we were chatting with WNBA, a lot of hype around the Fever. What did you see in the first round of playoffs that either surprised you or your top takeaway?
Honestly, not much surprised me in the first round, Casey. It went as I expected. I know there wasn't a lot of drama. Fans wanted that. All we saw were sweeps across the board. I think there were people who thought the Connecticut and Sun and Fever series would be more competitive. I was one that thought it was a little disrespectful to Connecticut and how good they've been, especially defensively all year. So I wasn't surprised that they got the sweep. And I thought it was going to be a level up for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. They had to learn that playoff basketball is a little bit different. They weren't able to play at the same pace that they did during the regular season, and that was an adjustment. But, I think that was one of my takeaways. And then, look, the other teams handled business. I thought Storm and the Aces would be a little bit more competitive, and it wasn't. I thought that series might have gone 3. It didn't, but the Aces took care of business, and now we're on to, I think, the 4 best teams in the league clearly all season, the heavy hitters, and this should be a fun semifinal round.
Yeah, absolutely. And keeping this playoff board up for just a second, I will mention this. You did talk about the Sun and some of the disrespect on them, and I couldn't agree more. I know there was some inconsistency, but we forget about the number of players that either participated in the Olympic breakaway or maybe just didn't take that downtime accordingly for their bodies. So bouncing back, we saw some inconsistency in one of the top defenses in the league, but that doesn't mean that they didn't have the ability to show up and go against a Fever team that, could somewhat be solved. You know who the 3 key players are that you've got to kind of isolate to make sure that you're making the game your own. And I think the Sun proved just that. Talking about the Aces for just a second also, because they were another team that kind of had defensive struggles throughout the season. They weren't really living up to par coming out of that Olympic break. They started to find their stride before playoffs took a break. But how far do you think this team can actually go?
Yeah, I think this is a team that can really, really take it far if they want to. I think they've got all the makings and one of the best defensive teams in the league, and I think that's their calling card, and I think that's really how to take that. They've been trying to break through and get past this round here, but this is a chance. I think they've done it. Once they got Marina Mabrey, that changed things a lot for them, and you just open up their offense a little bit. Still think they're the weakest of these 4 offensive teams here in the semifinals, but what I like is that defensive pedigree, and I think they can muck it up, for lack of a better term, Casey, make the game a little bit ugly, and it's going to be physical. They like to play physical basketball, and they're comfortable in that style. So I think this group is looking to break through, but they've definitely got a chance because they always will keep themselves in the game, and they've played in a lot of big games, and they know how to play these big games. They just haven't been able to get over the hump. I think some of these other teams are a little bit better than them offensively, but listen, if it comes down to defense, they can get stops and they can make it ugly.
And that's the thing. We don't always want to be super cliche, right, Dex? But defenses do, what do they say? Win
Win
championships.
championships. Yep.
Exactly. But you can't discount the top 2, maybe even 3 teams in the league. You probably know this because we've had a chance to talk a number of times when we're not working together. But Minnesota's a team, a place near and dear to my heart. I have them being a top team coming out of the mix here, but sticking with the other top team, the main top team this season, being the Liberty. You've been on the ground covering the Liberty. You've seen some things close up. They're taking on the Aces. How they weathered this defense is the big question, but they do have all the tools on offense. What do you like about this matchup?
What I like about this matchup is the fact, I mean, beside the fact that we had it as a finals rematch from last year, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's all the storylines around that. Are the Liberty hungry to get revenge here in the semis? And yeah, I think they are. I think they've been on a mission all season long. But what I really like about this matchup is these teams are very comfortable with each other. They know each other. Now, I understand people are going to look and say, what happened this year? The Liberty swept the Aces this season, but first game was without Chelsea Gray, who's still been working her way back into form in terms of getting healthy. And the Aces sort of hit their stride towards the end of the season. You saw a bit of it against the Seattle Storm. So this is a different Aces team. And you saw that even in the last time these two teams met, no Asia Wilson in that matchup, but the Liberty almost blew a huge 19-point lead that they had in the fourth quarter. And the Aces showed a lot of fight. This is a proud Aces team. They are the back-to-back defending champions. They are not going to go away easily. But what I like about this Liberty team that he didn't have last year, Kasey, is the depth. They have a ton of depth. They now have made a change to the starting lineup, putting Leonie Fiebich in the starting lineup. I think it's a fantastic move by Sandy Brondello, one she's been holding all year, didn't want to show this lineup until the playoffs. And I think the depth is what is the advantage here for the Liberty, that they can go deeper. Now, the Aces advantage, they've got the best player in the world in Asia Wilson, no doubt about that. But I like the depth for the Liberty here, and I just think this team is on a mission. I think they should be. If you're not up for any series in the playoffs, you got a problem as a professional athlete. But I think they'll really be up for this series against the Aces. I think they're really focused, and I like the Liberty in this one, but I think it's going to be an epic series.
I know all the rematch conversation kind of had a lot of fans with high expectations, but I will say this, as spectacular as Wilson is, depth is what really kind of constitutes as a top team in the league when it comes to playoffs and moving forward into championships. Now, give me good news here, Dex. We got the Sun, we've got the Lynx. I'm trying not to be biased, so this is also why we need friends and expertise in this field. What do you like about the Sun versus the Lynx? Is it as easy as the Lynx just running away with this one? Because I'm okay with that too.
Well, no, I like the Lynx here, but what I'll say is this is not going to be easy because these are the two best teams in the league in terms of defensive rating. Where I think the Lynx have the edge is just their two-way versatility. They've got more ladies who I think are just better on both sides of the ball. You know, there's an argument you could say Alyssa Thomas is the best all-around player in this matchup, but you know, Fee is tremendous. And we saw what she did just dropping a 42 piece in the closeout game and how tremendous she was in the last series for the Lynx. So I don't want to say be biased and go with Minnesota, but I just think they have a lot of better two-way players in terms of Kayla McBride, in terms of Fee. They, I think, can get the job done. They're playing well. They're so well coached by Cheryl Reeve, who's a championship level coach. Listen, I know a lot of people are going to talk and say that the Liberty and the Aces are that could be the finals matchup right there. But don't sleep on Minnesota. Minnesota's really good. They have all the talent to win it all this year. So I like Minnesota in this series, but I wouldn't sleep on the Sun. I'm going to go Minnesota in 4 in this one.
Ooh, we're gonna be clipping that one because I'm right there with you. I can't disrespect the Sun. But before I let you go, Dexter, to enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekend, I gotta put you in the hot seat. Who is lifting the trophy at the end of it all?
All right, I'm going to be biased. I'm keeping it with New York, going with the Liberty. I think the Liberty figure out a way to get it done, and they
I
get the first
thought
title in franchise history.
Oh my goodness. I thought on our friendship you were going to go with Minnesota, but everyone, regardless
I'm
of his
sorry.
right or wrong pick, please make sure that you're following Dexter. You can catch him on SNY, the New York Post. Great work across the board and, of course, all throughout New York City. But more importantly, Dex, thank you for joining us and taking some time on your Friday. Stick with us here in WNBA today because we've got more with Coach on the other side of this break here on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Daboll has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Daboll to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The Friday fun continues here on SportsGrid TV with WNBA Today. We got a chance to talk with Dexter Henry, get his breakdown of what's been going on in the WNBA playoffs thus far. We went from molding the playoffs, cementing the playoffs, and now we got to get to the Final Four. And what better person to talk to about the Final Four breakdown than James Young, or as y'all know, we call him here, Coach. Coach and I were just discussing, well, basically me figuring out my life here in New Jersey. But outside of that, it is a good Friday. It's always a great Friday when I get a chance to talk with you, Coach. What have you liked about playoffs so far? Sweeping style when it came to the slate. So the top teams proved that the top teams moved forward. Now we've got a Final Four coming up on Sunday. What have you liked so far?
Well, Kasey, it's been competitive for the most part. Some of these games, obviously, the Liberty with a blowout win in Game 1. I did like the way that Atlanta fought and was in that game. You can look at obviously game number 2 between Indiana and Connecticut. Aaliyah Boston gives them a lead, 77-75, 2 minutes left to go. So to see the fight of a young team like Indiana in that spot, seeing someone like Diana Taurasi, maybe retiring, a sad moment for arguably the greatest of all time. So there's been good storylines, but right now we got the 4 best teams in the W all lined up for the semifinals.
Absolutely. And you can't ask for a better script, right? Because there was a rematch that a few fans were hoping for, but we do have a big showdown going on between the Aces and the Liberty. Liberty searching for that title and really kind of have the roster to get it done. You can't really argue with what they've done thus far and how consistent they've been in their performance. But what do you see in this matchup coming down the pipeline? Aces struggled defensively for a moment throughout this season, but they started to pull things together very strongly in the last 2 weeks here, showing that they really can push through to the end. So what do you like and see between the Aces and the Liberty?
Well, first things first. One thing to look at, people, if you want to take a Jonquel Jones doubles at plus money. I think it was at plus 120 earlier today. Jonquel seems to dominate, particularly going against Gustafson and Kia Stokes. So that's just something for Game 1. Kasey, for the overall series, I like the New York Liberty in 4 games. So if you can take the Liberty minus 1.5 games at plus money, it allows the Liberty to win the game in 4 series in 4 games or less. Reason why I like them? Jonquel Jones, obviously. I think the Liberty are due. They have to get it done. But other thing is, and Dexter brought this out, Leona Feinrichs going into the starting lineup was a really smart move by Sandy Bordello. Gives them a little bit more length defensively and the ability to shoot, which leads me to Sabrina Ionescu. I think this is a big series for Sab. There's 2 plays I like, Kasey. I'm going to give it to people right now. 1, Sab to go 2+ made threes in every game this series. Now, if you think about it, she's done it in 32 out of 40 games this year. And now with her going to the point, now she comes off the ball screen and that makes her more effective. So if I like her with the ball, then you got to think about her to lead the series in assists at almost 2-1. She's someone that can come off of that ball screen, can score, but punch the gap and you space the floor with shooters, with Feinbich, with Beyond Lazy Hamilton, with Jonquel and Stewie, who both can shoot the three. She's going to have a lot of room to operate, and you saw what she did in game number 2. Big series, I think, for Sabrina Ionescu.
I'm really glad that you brought her up because obviously there's been a lot of shuffling when it comes to the MVP talk, but talk to me 2.5 months ago, and Sabrina Ionescu was probably one of the top people that I thought should have gotten a look or at least more conversation around her name and play. Anything that you like specifically for game 1 coming down the pipeline here, Coach?
Yeah, I do like the Liberty minus the points here. I think this is a game where, they're going to be able to impose their will -4. If you look at an over-under, maybe you look at the under 163.5. I know you're dealing with 2 dynamite teams in regards to offensive firepower, but you're also dealing with 2 older teams, right? So maybe this game slows down. It gets to a crawl. So I can see this being honestly in the low 150s. I think this is going to be a heavyweight matchup. I don't think the Aces think that they can beat the Liberty by running up the floor. And I know the Liberty can score a ton, but even look at that last game with Asia Wilton, I think it was 75-71. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game in game number 1.
Ooh, so I'm glad you brought that up because I had some questions about the totals. Obviously, fans have to gauge what goes down in round 1 versus round 2 because of what the matchups look like. Seeds are going 1-8, 2-7, and so on and so forth. But total coming in on this one started off at 164. I'm seeing it at 163.5. But regardless, is this something you would probably more so lean or continue to lean towards the under on with what you just mentioned?
I would just go under. If you just think about it as a coach, number one, it's one of those things where if you were the Aces, you want to play this game close to the vest, right? So you want to walk this game up the floor because you also want to make sure your starters play a ton of minutes. So running up and down the floor is not really beneficial to Becky Hammond and the Aces. So to me, this is going to be all 4 of these teams are really good defensively. This is going to be a really high intensity game, particularly on the defensive end of the floor.
Gotcha. Let's pivot quickly over to the Sun versus the Lynx. Sun bringing back that strong defensive form, but the Lynx probably one of the most complete teams in the league right now. What do you see and like about this matchup?
I like the Minnesota Lynx in 4 games, and here's why. And listen, I know that you have obviously Marina Mabry, who was absolutely fantastic in game number 1 with 27 points. But look at game 2. They struggled to shoot the ball from 3, and they're the worst 3-point shooting team in the league. Well, who has 3 of the top 5 3-point shooters in the WNBA? The Minnesota Lynx. So the ability to make shots in the half court become absolutely important. And let's be honest, Big Fish is the big fish. Ain't no one playing better ball than the Fisher Collier right now. You saw the 42 burger she dropped on the Mercury. Listen, I think the problem is that one team can handle it on both ends of the floor. One team struggles. Minnesota Lynx in 4 games or less.
Ooh, okay. I think you next are on the same page with that one as well, Coach. So before I let you go, I got to throw you in the hot seat just like I did with Dex because we're all friends here. Who is hoisting the trophy at the end of this all?
Well, I think Minnesota wins the series, obviously, and then goes against New York. I like the New York Liberty since before the season. This is a team that they got to get it done. They have the firepower. They have the coaching. They have the stars. And I don't know how much longer this window is open with New York because if they don't win it this year, I expect a major move to be made. I think they get it done. New York Liberty win the WNBA title.
Ooh, all right. 2 against 1, but that's totally fine with me because you got 2 expert minds. Make sure you're following Coach James Young on Twitter and covering or staying tuned with all of his coverage here on SportsGrid TV. Coach, thank you for taking time on your Friday as well. We'll see if the Liberty come out on top, but we got to get through the Final 4 first and one more round here on WNBA Today, so don't go anywhere. Stick with us here on the other side of this quick break.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Brew Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Back at it with WNBA today here on SportsGrid TV. And in case you missed it, we got a chance to start WNBA today with Dexter Henry and get his breakdown of what's been going on in the playoffs thus far, and also gauge where he thinks Final Four is going to see who will be hoisting the trophy at the end of. And he was, I'm not going to say in cahoots because obviously we know who I'm rooting for, but he was on the same team when it came to his final thoughts for the champion at the end of it all with Coach, who we just spoke to in that second segment. Both are rooting for the Liberty to finally get a title in their column. Not to mention is that they have the team, they have the means, they have the coaching to get the job done. So we will see. Make sure you guys chat with us over on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Talk to us over at SportsGrid. Let us know who you think is going to be the next WNBA champion and your favorite player for the MVP conversation. I love that Coach brought up Sabrina to probably make the largest impact coming up in the Final Four here. So a lot of different pieces to gauge, but more importantly, exciting basketball to watch. Something that's not on the exciting page for just a second here, though. We obviously got news of the Chicago Sky firing their head coach, and there's been a lot of conversation around, well, how players feel, how other coaches around the league feel, and how fans feel about this move. Teresa Witherspoon being let go was the last thing that we saw happening because a lot of people are expecting that it wasn't the coach. It wasn't how the coach was running this team. Her players supported her. You've seen a lot of the outspoken outcry across all social media platforms. More importantly, the conversation has to start at the top. Did they make the right moves? Did they help this team thrive? And were they actually on board with having a rookie try to drive their entire team and season? So the outrage across the board being that they feel like this was an unfair firing for Witherspoon. And I mean, that's something else you guys can chat with us when it comes to social media, because for the most part, nobody was expecting the Sky to have this complete turnaround. Maybe they were being too compared to what was going on for the Fever, but Angel Reese had some words and some heartbreak when it came to the firing of her head coach. I'll read you with this. Angel Reese takes to Twitter to say that she is heartbroken, literally at a loss for words, knowing what this woman has meant to me in such a pivotal point in my life. She was the only person that believed in me, the one person that trusted me. Many don't know even what it's like to be a black woman in sports when nobody believes in you. You had a tough job. All the crazy circumstances that we went through this year, and when your back was against the wall, you always believed. I came to Chicago because of you. You were an unsung hero in my life. We built a relationship in a short amount of time that will last forever. I'll never question why God brings people into my life and takes them away from me in the capacity that I need them, but I've always believed everyone is in your life for a reason and a season. You were the best reason and season. You didn't deserve this, but I can't thank you enough. I love you, T. Spoon. And this is just one of many heartfelt and heart-pouring messages that went across the socials the minute that this news got released. So it's something that a lot of people do not agree with. I will say I do not think this was a head coaching issue in terms of the lack of success that the Chicago Sky had. Their moments of burst spoke volumes. They did have to the buy-in for the players and how the players wanted to play not only with each other and for each other, but most importantly, for Witherspoon. So we'll see what comes in the next coming days or weeks as the WNBA season rounds out. But let's circle back to what we talked about here on WNBA today, starting with Dexter Henry. We were breaking down what's going on in playoffs moving forward after the sweeping that 4 teams have had. We now have the Liberty Sun, Lynx, and Aces moving on to the next round. This show starts on Sunday, 3 o'clock is one of the first games. We also have some bets that Coach threw out there, and I like a number of things that were put up on the board. I'm telling you guys, Coach was on it when he said to keep an eye out on Sabrina Ionescu. She's somebody that I had on my MVP charts months ago. Obviously, there's been outstanding players, and you can't even contend or go against Wilson and what she's done across this league, or even Collier at this point. So many other great players, but such great seasons for many of these women. But he has Sabrina having a big commanding presence when it comes to the next round of playoffs this coming Sunday. Then Dexter was talking about giving some love, giving some respect to the Aces, but more importantly, Liberty having that depth. So when we're looking at the teams this Sunday, look to the Liberty to have that depth to contend with the Aces. Aces defense started to step up and play up to par. This will be a great series to continue to navigate and match. And then the Sun versus the Lynx. Coach made a great point as to how the Sun struggle when it comes to three-point defense and how the Lynx just have too many dogs that can get the job done. And you guys know where I lean on this. While Dexter, as well as Coach, mentioned that it's probably the time and for the New York Liberty to hoist the trophy, I think it's the Lynx. They're where I put my money weeks ago. I thought they were the team to slide through and get the job done. Most complete roster on both sides of the ball. And that's me not being biased about it, everyone. But the good news is we've got more WNBA today, continuing to bring you this coverage as playoffs roll through. Final Four showdown starts this Sunday. Don't miss us next Friday as we break down what happened this past Sunday, what players continue to stand out, what the title odds move and maneuver to here on WNBA Today. So we'll catch you guys next Friday. As for me, Kasey Hudson, I am out. Stick with all SportsGrid coverage here on SportsGrid TV. And until next Friday, guys, I'll see you after the week.
It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
Lincoln!
But he had that program was already going there.
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National East Central. They're 2 games behind LA. That being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.